They say love makes you blind, but sometimes it's not love that blinds you. It's the desperate hope that the person you trusted won't destroy everything you've built together. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how one trip to Thailand changed my life forever. If you like our videos, please subscribe and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Your support means everything to us. I never thought I'd be the woman sitting alone in an empty house, wondering how 23 years of marriage could disappear in just 8 months. But here I am, and I need to tell this story because maybe, just maybe, it will save someone else from the nightmare I've been living. It all started when my husband Michael came home from work one evening with that look in his eyes, the one that usually meant he had an idea that would cost us money we didn't have. He sat down across from me at our kitchen table in Newark and said those words that would haunt me forever. "Honey, I'm thinking about taking a trip to Thailand with Dave." My stomach dropped immediately. Dave was Michael's old college buddy who had been to Southeast Asia 3 times in the past 2 years. Every time he came back, he had these stories about the culture and the beautiful people he'd met. The way he talked about Thai women made my skin crawl, but Michael always laughed it off like it was harmless guy talk. "Why Thailand?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "There are plenty of places to vacation right here in America." Michael's answer came too quickly, like he'd rehearsed it. "It's cheap, the fishing is incredible, and Dave knows all the best spots. It's just guys being guys, Sarah. You know I'd never do anything to hurt you, but the thing about being married for over 2 decades is that you learn to read between the lines." His voice had that slight tremor it got when he wasn't telling the whole truth. His eyes wouldn't quite meet mine, and when I pressed him about the details, where exactly they'd stay, what kind of fishing they'd do, how long they'd be gone, his answers were vague and rehearsed. "I don't like this, Michael," I said. "Something feels wrong about this whole thing." He reached across the table and took my hand. "Sarah, you're being paranoid. I love you. I've loved you since we were 19 years old. One fishing trip isn't going to change that." 3 months before Michael dropped the Thailand bombshell, his Uncle Frank had passed away and left him nearly $40,000. For the first time in our marriage, we weren't living paycheck to paycheck. Michael had big plans. We were going to fix the roof, update the kitchen, maybe even take a real vacation together to somewhere romantic like Italy or Greece. "This is our chance, Sarah," he'd said, holding the inheritance check like it was made of gold. "We can finally do all those things we've been talking about for years." I was so happy. I thought this money would bring us closer together, give us the security we'd never had. I even started looking at kitchen cabinets online and dreaming about cooking in a space that wasn't falling apart around us. But then Thailand came up and suddenly Michael's priorities shifted. The kitchen could wait. The roof could wait. Everything could wait except this mysterious fishing trip with Dave. "How much is this trip going to cost?" I asked. "Maybe 3,000, 4 at most, even then." I knew he was lying about the price, but I didn't know he was lying about everything else too. The night before he left, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to Michael, listening to him breathe, wondering if this was the last night our marriage would feel normal. He seemed restless too, tossing and turning like he had something on his conscience. "Michael," I whispered in the dark, "promise me you'll be careful over there." "Of course," he mumbled. "It's just fishing, Sarah. Stop worrying so much." But I couldn't stop worrying. Something deep in my gut told me that when he came back from Thailand, nothing would ever be the same. The first 3 days after Michael left were the longest of my life. He'd promised to text me every day, to send pictures of the fish they caught, to keep me updated on their adventures. Instead, I got radio silence. On day 4, I finally received a message. "Having great time, weather perfect, miss you." That was it. 12 words after 4 days of nothing. No pictures of fish, no stories about Dave's fishing expertise, no details about where they were staying or what they were doing, just 12 generic words that could have been sent from anywhere. I tried calling him, but the calls went straight to voicemail. When I texted asking for more details, his responses came hours later and were always short. "Busy fishing. phone battery dying. Tell you everything when I get back. This wasn't the Michael I knew. My husband was a talker. He called me 3 times a day when he was at work just 20 minutes away. The idea that he was too busy fishing to have a real conversation with his wife of 23 years was absurd. I started doing what any worried wife would do. I researched. I spent hours online reading about Thailand, about the nightlife, about the bar scene that Dave had hinted at in his stories. What I found made my blood run cold. Thailand wasn't just about fishing and beaches. It was about something else entirely, something that explained Dave's repeat visits and Michael's sudden interest in Southeast Asian culture. By day 7, I was convinced that my marriage was over. I just didn't know it yet. When Michael walked through our front door after 10 days in Thailand, he looked like a different person. His skin was tan, his smile was forced, and there was something in his eyes I'd never seen before. Guilt mixed with excitement, like he was carrying a secret that both thrilled and terrified him. "How was the fishing?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Amazing," he said, but he wouldn't look at me directly. "We caught some incredible fish." Dave wasn't kidding about knowing the good spots. "Can I see the pictures?" Michael's face went blank for just a second, the kind of pause that screams, "I wasn't expecting that question." Then he fumbled for his phone. "Oh, I didn't take many. You know how I am with technology." This from a man who took pictures of his breakfast every morning and sent them to his buddies in a group chat. He showed me 3 photos, a generic beach sunset, a blurry picture of what might have been a fish, and a shot of Dave holding a beer with some local people in the background. That was it. 10 days in Thailand reduced to 3 photos that told me absolutely nothing. "That's all you took?" I asked. "We were too busy having fun to worry about pictures," he said. But his voice had that rehearsed quality again. Then came the bombshell that shattered what was left of my trust. "Dave and I are thinking about going back in 6 weeks. The fishing was so good, we want to try a different part of the coast." I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. 6 weeks? Michael, you just got back. We have things to do here. The kitchen renovation, remember? The roof? Those things can wait. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Sarah. Dave's friend owns a boat out there, and he's giving us a deal we can't pass up. Dave's friend? A boat? More lies piling on top of lies. "If you go back to Thailand, Michael, we're done. I mean it. This marriage will be over." He looked at me like I was the one being unreasonable. "You're being dramatic, Sarah. It's just fishing. You're acting like I'm going there to cheat on you or something." The way he said it, so defensive, so angry, told me everything I needed to know. He wasn't going to Thailand for fishing. He never had been. While Michael was planning his return trip to fish with Dave, I was doing my own detective work. Something about his story didn't add up, and I was determined to find out what really happened during those 10 days. I started with our credit card statements. What I found made me sick to my stomach. Michael had told me the trip cost around $3,000. The reality was closer to $6,000, and that was just what I could see on our joint account. There were charges at jewelry stores, expensive restaurants, and something called entertainment venues that appeared on the statement 4 different times. When I confronted him about the discrepancies, Michael had an explanation for everything. "The jewelry store? I bought you a surprise, but it got lost in transit." "The expensive restaurants? Dave insisted on trying the local cuisine." "The entertainment venues, that's just what they call the fishing charter services over there." Every explanation was perfectly reasonable and completely unbelievable, but the worst part was yet to come. 3 days after our confrontation about the credit card bills, I discovered that Michael had already booked and paid for the second trip. Not only had he ignored my ultimatum, but he'd used our inheritance money to pay for Dave's ticket too. "Dave's going through a rough patch," Michael explained when I found the confirmation emails. His ex-wife cleaned him out in the divorce. "I'm just helping a friend." "You're spending our future on your friend's vacation?" "It's not a vacation, Sarah. It's business. Dave thinks we can start an import company bringing Thai products to America. This trip is research." New lies, more creative lies, but lies nonetheless. That night, I made a decision that would change everything. I told Michael that if he got on that plane to Thailand, I wouldn't be here when he got back. He got on the plane anyway. While Michael was on his second fishing trip, I did something I'd never done in 23 years of marriage. I went through his personal belongings. I felt terrible about violating his privacy, but I was desperate for answers. What I found in his laptop's search history destroyed the last shred of doubt I had about what my husband was really doing in Thailand. The searches weren't about fishing or boats or import businesses. They were about Thai dating sites, Thai culture, and something called girlfriend experience that made me physically ill to read about. There were also email exchanges with someone named Ploy that went back 3 weeks before his first trip. The emails were in broken English, but the meaning was clear. Michael hadn't met this woman randomly while fishing. He'd been planning to meet her long before he ever mentioned Thailand to me. The emails talked about him bringing gifts, about her showing him real Thailand, about him coming back to see her soon. There were photos exchanged, photos of her that were definitely not appropriate for a married man to have, and photos of Michael that I'd never seen before where he was posing like he was single and available. I printed everything, I saved everything. I had proof that my husband of 23 years was having an affair with a woman half his age on the other side of the world. But the evidence that broke my heart wasn't the emails or the photos. It was a document I found in his downloads folder. A lease agreement for an apartment in Pattaya, Thailand. Michael wasn't just visiting this woman. He was planning to live with her. When he called me from Thailand that night, I was ready. "How's the fishing?" I asked, my voice deadly calm. "Great, actually. We might extend the trip a few more days. Michael, I know about Ploy." The silence on the other end of the line lasted forever. When he finally spoke, his voice was different, smaller, caught. "Sarah, I can explain." "Don't, just don't. I found the emails. I found the lease agreement. I know everything. It's not what you think. She's just a friend. She's been showing us around." "Stop lying to me," I screamed, months of suppressed anger finally exploding. "I've been married to you for 23 years, Michael. I know when you're lying, and you've been lying to me for months." The next morning, I did something I'd never done before. I went to the bank and moved half of our remaining inheritance money into a separate account. If Michael was going to destroy our marriage, I wasn't going to let him destroy our financial future too. It was a good thing I did, because when I checked our joint account 2 days later, I discovered that Michael had been sending money to Thailand. Not just small amounts. We're talking about $500 here, $300 there, sometimes $1,000 at once. In the span of his 10-day trip, he'd sent over $4,000 to various accounts in Thailand. When I traced the transactions, they all led back to the same recipient, Ploy Siriwan. I called the bank immediately. "I need to know about these international transfers," I told the customer service representative. "These were all authorized by your husband, Mrs. Patterson. The transfers were made using online banking with his login credentials." "Can you stop future transfers?" "Not without his permission, since it's a joint account." That's when I realized how stupid I'd been. While I was trying to save our marriage, Michael was literally giving our future away to a stranger in Thailand. The inheritance that was supposed to fix our roof and renovate our kitchen was being transferred piece by piece to a woman I'd never met. By the time Michael returned from his second trip, he'd sent over $8,000 to Thailand, $8,000 of our $40,000 inheritance, gone forever. When I confronted him about the money transfers, he had the audacity to deny it at first. "I never sent money to anyone," he said, looking me straight in the eye. "Michael, I have the bank statements. I have the transaction records." I spoke to the bank. "Okay, fine. I sent some money to help Ploy's family. Her father is sick, and they needed help with medical bills." "Her father is sick?" "Michael, listen to yourself. You're sending thousands of dollars to a woman you claim is just a friend, for a father you've never met, in a country you visited twice. She's not just a friend, okay? I care about her, but it's not what you think." "Then what is it, Michael? Explain to me what it is." He couldn't. He stood there in our kitchen, surrounded by the life we'd built together, and he couldn't explain why he was giving our money to another woman. A week after Michael's return, I was scrolling through Facebook when I saw something that made my heart stop. Michael had posted a photo from Thailand, a photo he'd never shown me. In the picture, he was sitting at a beachside bar with his arm around a young Thai woman. She was beautiful, probably in her mid-20s, with long black hair and a smile that suggested this wasn't just a casual tourist photo. They looked like a couple. The caption read, "Living my best life in paradise with my amazing tour guide Ploy. Thailand is incredible, blessed paradise, living life." I screenshotted the photo immediately, then called Michael downstairs. "What is this?" I demanded, showing him my phone. His face went white. "Where did you get that? You posted it on Facebook, Michael, your own Facebook page." "That's impossible. I didn't post anything on Facebook." "It has your name on it. It's from your account." He grabbed my phone and stared at the photo. I watched his face go through a series of emotions: panic, confusion, and then resignation. "Okay, yes, I posted it, but I thought I had the privacy setting set so only she could see it." "Only she could see it? Michael, why would you post a romantic photo with another woman that you wanted only she could see?" "It's not romantic. She was just showing us around. It's a friendly photo." "Yeah, you have your arm around her. You called her amazing. You're talking about living your best life. This is not a friendly photo." The worst part wasn't the photo itself. It was the comments underneath it. Comments from Michael's friends and co-workers, congratulating him on his beautiful girlfriend and asking when he was making the move permanent. Michael had been presenting himself as single on social media. Our 23-year marriage didn't exist in his online world. That night I demanded the full truth. I laid out everything I'd discovered: the emails, the money transfers, the social media posts, the lease agreement. I told Michael that I knew he was having an affair and that I was done with the lies. "I want you to tell me exactly what happened in Thailand," I said, "all of it. No more stories about fishing or business opportunities or sick fathers. I want the truth." Michael sat across from me at our kitchen table, the same table where he'd first mentioned Thailand, and for the first time in months, he was honest. "I met her online before the first trip," he admitted. "Dave showed me this website where you can meet Thai women. I was curious, that's all. I created a profile just to see what it was like." "You created a dating profile while married to me?" "I wasn't planning to meet anyone. It was just fantasy. But then Ployd messaged me and we started talking, and she seemed so interested in me. She made me feel young again, Sarah. She made me feel important." "So you flew to Thailand to meet her?" "Yes. The fishing thing was just a cover story. Dave knew about Ploy from the beginning." "And the second trip?" "She asked me to come back. She said she was falling in love with me. She wanted me to meet her family, to see if we could have a future together." "A future together? Michael, you're married." "We've been married for 23 years. "I know, but being with her felt like being alive again. She doesn't nag me about money or responsibilities. She just appreciates me for who I am." I stared at this man I'd loved for over 2 decades and realized I didn't know him at all. "What about the money? Why did you send her thousands of dollars?" "She needed help. Her family is poor, and I wanted to show her that I could take care of her." "With our money. With the inheritance we were supposed to use to fix our life here. I was going to pay it back. Once I figured out how to make this work with Ploy, I was going to make sure you were taken care of too." "How are you going to make it work, Michael? Were you planning to leave me?" The silence that followed told me everything I needed to know. Over the next 2 weeks, Michael begged me to forgive him. He swore the affair was over, that he'd never contact Ploy again, that he wanted to save our marriage. But his actions told a different story. I found him on the phone with her at 2 a.m, whispering sweet nothings in broken English. I discovered more money transfers, smaller amounts that he thought I wouldn't notice. And worst of all, I found a plane ticket confirmation in his email. He'd booked another trip to Thailand for the following month. "You're still planning to see her," I said, when I confronted him with the ticket. I have to explain to her that it's over. I can't just disappear from her life. You can't email her. You can't call her. You have to fly 8,000 miles to break up with her. It's complicated, Sarah. She's invested in this relationship. She's made sacrifices. What about the sacrifices I've made? What about the 23 years I've invested in our relationship? That's different. You and I, we've grown apart. We've become like roommates. With Toy, I feel passion again. That's when I knew it was truly over. It wasn't just an affair. Michael had fallen in love with another woman, and he was choosing her over me. I told him to pack his bags and leave. I couldn't share a home with someone who was planning his future with another woman while lying to my face about wanting to save our marriage. You're making a mistake, Sarah, he said as he stuffed clothes into a suitcase. You're throwing away our marriage over jealousy. I'm not throwing away our marriage, Michael. You already did that the moment you got on a plane to Thailand. Michael moved in with Dave, which seemed fitting since Dave had been the one to introduce him to this whole mess. But their friendship didn't last long. Apparently, Dave got tired of listening to Michael's constant talk about Ploy and his plans to move to Thailand permanently. Within a month, Michael was living in a cheap motel and working part-time at a gas station. The man who'd once managed a successful sales team was now struggling to pay for basic necessities because he'd sent our life savings to a woman on the other side of the world. I filed for divorce and began the long process of untangling 23 years of shared life. It was heartbreaking and exhausting, but also liberating. For the first time in months, I wasn't wondering what Michael was hiding from me or who he was talking to on his phone. The hardest part was explaining to our families and friends what had happened. Michael's parents blamed me for not being more understanding of his midlife crisis. Some of our mutual friends thought I was being too harsh, that I should have tried harder to save the marriage. But I knew something they didn't. This wasn't a midlife crisis. This was a man who'd made a conscious choice to prioritize his fantasy over his reality, his excitement over his commitments. 3 months after I kicked him out, Michael finally made his move to Thailand. He liquidated everything he had left, his car, his tools, even his father's watch that had been in the family for generations, to buy a one-way ticket to Pattaya. I heard from Dave that Michael was planning to marry Ploy and start a new life in Thailand. Dave also mentioned that Michael had asked him for money for the wedding, which Dave had refused to give him. 6 months after Michael left for Thailand, I got a phone call that I'd been both expecting and dreading. It was Michael, calling from Bangkok, and he sounded like a broken man. "Sarah," he said, his voice shaky and desperate. "I need help." "What's wrong, Michael?" Everything is wrong. Ploy, she's not who I thought she was." It turned out that Michael's Thai paradise had been nothing but an elaborate scam. Ploy wasn't a poor girl from a struggling family. She was a professional who specialized in extracting money from lonely Western men. She had 3 other boyfriends sending her money, Michael told me, his voice hollow with realization. Americans, Germans, Australians, we were all just ATMs to her. "What happened to all the money you sent her?" "Gone. All of it." She claimed she needed money for her sick father, for her family's debts, for emergencies that kept coming up. I sent her over $15,000, Sarah. $15,000 of our money. And the apartment? The lease you signed? It was fake. The address doesn't exist. She took the deposit money and disappeared. Had been living in a hostel for 2 weeks, eating instant noodles and trying to figure out how to get home. I should have felt vindicated. I should have felt satisfied that karma had finally caught up with Michael. Instead, I just felt sad. Sad for the man I'd once loved. Sad for the life we'd wasted. Sad for the trust that could never be rebuilt. "I can't help you, Michael," I told him. "You made your choices. You have to live with the consequences." "But I have nothing left. No money, no job, no place to live. I'm stuck here. You should have thought about that before you destroyed our marriage for a fantasy." It was the last conversation we ever had. A year has passed since Michael left for Thailand, and I'm finally starting to feel like myself again. The divorce was finalized 6 months ago, and I was awarded half of what remained of our assets, which wasn't much after Michael's spending spree. I had to sell our house and move into a smaller apartment, but it's mine. There are no secrets here, no lies, no wondering where my partner really is or what he's really doing. The peace of mind is worth more than the space I gave up. I'm working full-time now and taking evening classes to update my skills. For the first time in years, I'm planning for a future that I control. I'm making friends, pursuing hobbies I'd abandoned during my marriage, and slowly learning to trust my instincts again. Do I miss Michael? I miss the man I thought he was. I miss the life I thought we had. But I don't miss the lying, the suspicion, the constant wondering if the person sleeping next to me was planning his escape. I heard through mutual friends that Michael eventually made it back to the United States, though I don't know how. He's apparently living with his elderly mother in Florida and working odd jobs to pay off the debts he accumulated during his Thailand adventure. Part of me feels sorry for him. He traded a stable, loving marriage for a fantasy that cost him everything. But another part of me knows that he made his choice with full knowledge of what he was risking. If there's one thing I want other women to know from my story, it's this: trust your instincts. When something feels wrong, it probably is. When someone you love starts lying to you about small things, they're probably lying about big things too. I spent months making excuses for Michael's behavior, convincing myself that I was being paranoid or jealous or unreasonable. I ignored red flags because I wanted to believe that our love was strong enough to survive anything. But love isn't enough when only one person is committed to the relationship. Love isn't enough when one person is actively planning to leave while the other is planning to stay. Michael didn't destroy our marriage because of ploy or Thailand or a midlife crisis. He destroyed it because he chose deception over honesty, fantasy over reality, selfishness over commitment. I can't change what happened, but I can choose how I move forward. I choose to rebuild my life on a foundation of honesty and self-respect. I choose to surround myself with people who value truth and loyalty. And if I ever find love again, I choose to trust but verify, to hope but protect myself. The woman who begged her husband not to go to Thailand doesn't exist anymore. She was replaced by a woman who knows her worth, who won't accept lies as love, and who will never again sacrifice her peace of mind for someone else's fantasy. Thailand didn't destroy my marriage, my husband did. But in losing him, I found myself. And that's a trait I can live with. Thank you for listening to my story. If it helps even one person recognize the warning signs in their own relationship, then sharing my pain will have been worth it. Remember, you deserve honesty, you deserve respect, and you deserve a partner who chooses you every single day.